everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and we're doing another indie horror spotlight. I have back with us today my man Ryan Shovey, and he has a movie that he is in development right now. It's called Parasomnia. Ryan, welcome back to the Horror Room.
Hey, how's it going, Travis? Good to be
Good
back.
man, good man.
Sorry about that dog barking right there.
Yes.
It's okay.
So tell us a little bit about Parasomnia.
Yeah, sure. So, Parasomnia is it's a ghost movie. It's about it's about this woman who deals with night terrors on like a daily basis, and in fact, she's been dealing with them for her whole entire life. She just sees ghosts in her dreams, and everybody tells her she's crazy, but she knows she's experienced them. And it gets to a point to where she doesn't know what to do with her life. So she figures she just needs to get out of her head, and she goes out on a date. And while she's out on this really nice date, she ends up falling asleep. She goes home with the guy. She falls asleep, and she's trapped in the worst night terrors that she's ever been trapped in her life. And you come to find out there's a haunted house, there's a serial killer, there's all this other stuff that she has to overcome and use these ghosts as her friends, almost as her crew to help stop a serial killer.
Holy shit, man! This sounds like a fucking wild ride. Now, what gave you the inspiration for this one?
So, what is a couple different things actually. I feel like I've experienced. Parasomnia is an actual term. So it is a form of night terrors where you feel like there's something else in the room, or you ever have that feeling where like something's sitting on your chest or holding you down when you can't wake up, or like you can almost like see through your eyelids when you're asleep, and you can see around your room, and you're kind of awake, but you're also in a deep sleep at the same time, and you just feel like something else is there. It's parasomnia is. And when I lived in New Orleans, I actually experienced that a few times. I lived right behind my backyard was the big mid-city New Orleans cemetery. So like all these big cemeteries that were like above ground,
The mausoleums.
And stuff. Yeah. And I would have to walk home like 2 o'clock in the morning, walk past that thing. And it was literally right in the back, right on the other side of my back fence. So I would wake up at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, just feeling like if I turn around, I'm probably going to see something behind me. And, it's terrifying. But I would always have things like that, or I remember things like that as a kid, or just experiencing things like that. And then on top of that, as I got older and as I was living more by myself, I started to really hate dating apps, and like just that social experience of like being online and having to go online and research somebody, and like the inauthenticity of just meeting people. And I just thought about a character who is suffering this night terror thing, what that must do to somebody's social ability to interact with other people. There's actual lines in the script where she talks about she can't even wake up in the middle of the night without screaming, and no partner wants to sleep next to her for when something like that happens. So there's a lot of like self-sabotage and regret and just fear of just being around other people, and so yeah, it's all those elements just kind of melding together, just people just trying to be people, and everybody wanting to be seen, and everybody wanting to be heard, and developed all these characters.
And I agree with what you said. Like back in the day while I was on dating apps, it's a weird fucking experience.
Right?
It is. So it's weird. It's weird. I mean, it's unless I know it's everybody said it's normal now, and no, it's weird. It is.
There's, like I said, there's an inauthenticity to it, and there's, or something, I guess, just something kind of inorganic to it, of just being able to choose who you swipe to.
And it's superficial too.
It's very superficial, yeah, because everybody has to put on their face. So it's like somebody like our main character Jane, which I guess really is me in a lot of ways when it comes to.
I was about to ask that, but yeah.
Yeah. No, in a lot of these ways, she like I put my fears and insecurities into her, but a lot of the superficiality is a big part of why she doesn't take it seriously, or why she doesn't want to do it, or why she can explain away going on a date when, oh, I could be doing these other things. I'm not gonna, I don't need a boyfriend to solve all my problems. And she says things like that. But really it's just like, you have to study somebody before you can even meet them in the first place. Like, where's the fun in that? Like, where's the organic introductions that we used to do, like all that kind of stuff. So
Because if you are smart, you're definitely background checking people you're going on a date with. I mean,
yeah,
when I say background check, I mean not a full on going on to.
I mean, but you are, like, I did it.
But yeah, I mean, you go on
I've done
social
it.
media. You go on social media, see if they have a social media, and like,
Is this a real person? Yeah, that happens.
are they married? Because like,
Yeah,
a lot of people don't. A lot of people say that they're not. Listen, this is okay. This is my dating experience. All right.
yeah.
If you ever meet anybody who says they don't have on social media, right? Red flags should be going off in your fucking head. Like,
They gotta
I'm
have
talking about,
something.
it should be just going boom. It should be going off because they're 100% lying. Either they're
Yeah,
lying or they're a serial.
there's got to
One
be
of the
some
two.
kind of online presence, right?
Yes, it's.
Some
I
way
mean,
that they can.
if you meet someone say I can't have social media because of my job or something like that,
Yeah,
they're full of shit. Because the president of the United States has social media, and he's the most important fucking person in the country,
sure.
right?
Yeah, and all that stuff is kind of touched upon in this, and there's even the arguments of like, oh, you would let your girlfriend know, you would, and I speak from the women's, like, I do got to say, because this is just so everybody's aware, I am a man. I was born a man. I am telling a story about a woman dealing with these things, but I have 3 producers on this that are all amazing producers, and they're all women, and they've all signed off on loving what this story is about and loving it from their perspective, and have given me perspective on their perspective as well. And I've also, while writing several drafts, I've talked with a lot of even just a lot of dates that I would go on. Like, I would talk to women, they would give me their horror stories about what
And they all have horror
other
stories.
kinds of dates. Everybody has horror stories. So this is kind of like, this woman kind of going through her horror story. She does have a best friend that she checks in with, and she texts and says, "Hey, I'm okay. I'm still with this guy where everything's, I feel comfortable," and all that stuff. Like, we have moments like that. We have moments where she calls her mom and says, "Hey, just to let you know, I'm on a date, just in case, whatever. I'll talk to you later." Like, that kind of stuff. Like, there's all these like safety precautions measures when it comes to online dating. So we're not necessarily, I'm in the script, I'm not putting online dating down whatsoever. But what I'm doing is I'm shining a light on what it does to a certain person who has innate insecurities for very, very kind of dark and horrible reasons that she's dealt with all her life. And I think that's something we all relate to, right? We all have insecurities that we deal with, that we feel like we're not good enough. And so we don't take the time to put ourselves out there. And it takes friends and family to be like, "Hey, why don't you just try going out for the night and just seeing where it goes?" And so in this story, it's like, what if the absolute worst thing
Yeah.
happens? It just so happens to be the worst case scenario. And, just horror people and film fans, like, we kind of want to see that. So why not?
Because you would think that there has to be a serial killer on a dating site, right? I mean, it has
Oh,
to.
I'm sure that I feel like I've seen stories, like I've seen news stories and such of maybe possible serial killers. But I mean, there's definitely been like uh um people who have stolen identities and hacked bank accounts and all that stuff because of a dating app thing, or even like there's been things of like Uber drivers who were kidnapping people, and there's been all kinds of stuff using all these things. So
because
there's
because I'm a mortician. That's my day job, right?
oh,
And
really? I didn't
yeah,
know that. I don't
yeah.
think you ever told me that. That's so
and
cool.
yeah, and way back in my 20s, so when I first started, so uh, early 20s when I first started,
Yeah.
and this is back in the AOL days. I'm sure my age.
Yeah.
The
I
AOL
remember those.
Messenger. That's how
Yeah.
people dated. But that was online dating back then, right?
I remember
And
it.
Yep. I've never met anybody off of it, but that was online dating. And like
Mhm.
online dating, then there was no fucking pictures. There was no anything. You're just relying off of what this person is
Send a
telling you.
pic. That's
Yep.
what
Send
we
a
would
pic,
say.
and you
Send a
hope that's
pic.
a real picture. Yeah.
So,
You
or
ask
yeah.
ASL,
Send for pic.
age, sex, and location,
ASL. I remember that. I was there.
But yeah, I had one where like this young woman uh in North Carolina, she met this guy who lived in Philadelphia, and she hopped on a bus to go there, and unfortunately, he like murdered her in the hotel room, and like
Hmm.
in a gruesome way, and that was the first time, and that scared the shit out of me. And then online dating started coming out, and then like everybody kept saying, "Oh, do online dating is where," and I always thought in my mind, I was like, online dating and serial killers. That's why I always thought in my mind, like this is where serial killers um, come from. You know what I mean? Like this is the
Yeah.
perfect breeding ground for a serial killer or a
I think I feel like that was. I mean, you basically, in a way, just kind of described the story of Jack the Ripper because that's what Jack the Ripper would do, right?
yeah.
Like, I mean, it was obviously there wasn't dating like this back then, but he was targeting those kinds of people who would make themselves vulnerable enough to be put in that situation.
Hmm.
And it was mostly people, sex workers and stuff like that were back in that day that would be out on the street, and those were the people he would target. And so yeah, what's a modern equivalent of that today? Is somebody who's stalking the dating apps and stuff.
Yeah, and
Um,
I'm actually going to be doing a series on my channel, by the way, of black serial killers because we don't get our shine, right? But
sure.
there's one. So I'm in Baltimore, and DMV is DC, Maryland, Virginia. That's what they call it.
Okay.
And there was one a couple years ago where good-looking black guy, everything a woman would want in a guy, right?
Yeah.
And he was on online dating sites, and he infected like something ridiculous, like 50 women with AIDS, like,
Oh.
and like he's definitely in jail now and so forth. But like,
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
but like, I mean, you run into shit with like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always a scary thing, and I think it's very telling. Like the one thing I would always hear is but um and again, like I'm just a guy with my own perspective on things. I don't speak
Yeah.
for everybody, but I just talk about what I've heard, and I always found it very interesting the two different definitions or perspectives of the word crazy or scared for between like men and women. So like for men, for us, when we go out and when we think somebody's crazy or somebody is something we're scared of, it's normally like almost silly in a way, like, oh, that guy's acting crazy, like I'm just jumping around over there, like you're not thinking about your own personal safety, whereas for women, when they meet somebody new and they're scared, like it's like, oh yeah, this guy could kill me, and I so it's there's that innate fear and that kind of stuff. So we talk about that kind of stuff in this story and what it's like from that perspective of just dealing with other people in general, and stuff like that. The really cool stuff that ends up happening is by the end of the story, this woman, she ends up becoming a dark Avenger. Like I really say, like the third act of this movie is basically me making the Crow, where she basically becomes
Nice.
like that character, and is almost like a poltergeist. Like learns how to be a poltergeist in a way, and to stop this guy from killing somebody else that she knows, and she uses all the ghosts and stuff that she's interacted with throughout the whole thing, and encourages everybody and builds everybody up and says, like, we don't have to take this anymore type thing. And it's every I'd say the majority of the women, especially my three producers, have really enjoyed this third act, and I'm gonna have a blast filming it. Some of it is in the trailer that I showed you, but not enough of it. But yeah, it'll be really fun.
Amazing, amazing. Now, do you have a filming location that you're looking at?
Oh, we're talking about that. We're right now we're trying to figure out the best place that does the best tax incentives for our budget bracket, and also like has the best LLC um, benefits for wherever we're gonna film. Because it's a little expensive to film in especially low budget for what we're wanting to do. It's pretty expensive to film out here in California.
I can
So
imagine.
we're yeah, we're looking all over the place. We have a whole list of places we're trying to narrow down.
And I'm telling you
But
now, it sounds amazing. It sounds like an amazing concept. It sounds like something fresh. It sounds like something new. And is it hard as a filmmaker to come up with fresh ideas? Because I mean, it seems like everything has been done.
yeah,
Oh,
you're right. Everything pretty much has been done. I think in a way that makes it freeing for me to not have the pressure of thinking of something like having to think of something unique and fresh. Like I think Tarantino kind of does it best when he picks and chooses things from all kinds of different movies to build out his movie. And I found myself kind of doing that same thing. I try to think of stories that uh, I just try to think of stories that are interesting to me would um, that would make me want to go see it. Something that I haven't really seen, I guess, before. And it doesn't always work. Even with this script, I've had people read it and they've been like, "Actually, they did stuff like this in that movie Ghost." I was like, "Ah, shit, I forgot about that." Shit. But I mean, I do have things that are way different enough than what other movies have done. But still, there's always going to be homages, and there's homages in the trailer, that the
yeah.
little pitch proof of concept trailer. Like there's homages to other things, and I lean into that because it's fun for me. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to come up with something. It's hard to come up with something fresh, and it's hard to come up with something good.
Yes.
So it's a lot of work to do either way, but it's a
I
process.
mean, because I'm assuming the easiest thing as a filmmaker in general is to do the cookie cutter route. You know,
Yeah,
something that's proven to be successful.
yeah.
You know, a man with a mask on with a machete in the woods always is going to get people's attention. You know.
It's funny you say that because I have another script. I have another feature script I'm trying to get going, which is exactly that. But it's an axe. It's an axe, not a machete.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
but it's a very unique take. Like it's basically Friday the 13th meets Unforgiven, and yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it's one of those
I'm curious.
movies. Yeah, it's one of those movies where like it's very brutal at the beginning, but by the end, you're like kind of rooting for the serial killer for a certain reason.
Nice.
And
I like those.
yeah, it's a really fun slasher script. But that's another one that we're working on too. But yeah,
Unforgiven and Jason. I'm like, how the fuck do you put those two together? Like, I'm trying to think what that even means or what that looks like.
yeah, it's yeah, it's fun because it also it deals with a lot of like just guilt and regret and uh making making decisions to do violent things that you can't forgive yourself of 30 years later. And then what happens when you take a person who's dealing with that and you basically try to break into their isolated cabin in the woods and try to kill their dog? What's that guy gonna do now? So it's
Oh, some John Wick up in there too.
yeah, there's a little bit in there. There's a little bit of that in there. I think John Wick really helped open the door for some of that stuff. But the dog lives. So I just want to make that clear. The dog lives. It's a great character. But yeah, but that's another script that we're working on, or that I'm working to try to get going to.
So we kind of breeze past it. Let me ask you the direct question.
Yeah.
Is it hard as a writer and filmmaker to not put yourself into the characters, put yourself, your own life experiences into your stories?
I'm sorry. Ask it one more time. I think you're kind of breaking up a little bit.
Oh, I'm saying, as a writer and filmmaker, is it hard not to put yourself little bit of yourself into the characters as well as your personal life experiences into your stories?
Is it hard not to?
Hmm.
I'd say yes. It's absolutely hard not to because I end up leaning into that for every character that I make. I find a piece of me, a piece of insecurity or quirk or experience that I've had, and I use that to flesh out these characters or try to say whatever I'm feeling, whether the script is kind of like a journal entry in a way, how am I feeling insecure? How am I feeling isolated or guilty or lonely or whatever these like I'm able to infuse that in and change just enough to where it's a different take. It's not me just literally putting me on the screen.
Yeah.
But there's a quote. One of my favorite quotes is by Charlie Chaplin. And he says, if you want to know me, watch my films. And I have basically taken that and ran with it. Everything I do is I'm putting myself in. It's if you want to know who I am, watch these films. Like you will figure out like, oh, my perspective and my insecurities and all that stuff pretty quickly, I think.
Well, Ron, listen, I am excited to see a necromance. I mean, it sounds like right up my alley, man. It really does. It really does.
I'm glad, man. I'm glad. Yeah. Yeah. And then you got to, what'd you think of that little proof of concept we did?
Look, it was amazing. It was amazing. I mean, I'm like, this is up my alley because
Yeah.
I guess because it relates to me, and like that's something I feel like as a movie watcher, we like to watch things that relate to us in some kind of
Yeah,
way,
for sure.
and like watching the trailer that you sent me, it was like, oh, this movie seems amazing. This relates to me. I get this. I understand
It's
this.
awesome. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. It really leans into our modern society and just everything. Like, it doesn't shy away from cell phone use. It doesn't shy away from every day-to-day thing that we encounter with people or by ourselves or anything like that. And it's not your like normal like happy ending type story. I mean, it is a happy ending for sure, but it's uh what I like to say is it's the best of ending that can happen to the situation of the character. It's not necessarily a happy one for like the whole story that you're not expecting the ending to actually happens. But it's a very good thing. So that's great to hear. I'm glad that there's interest in that, and for that little trailer, we did a little fundraiser at a bar, actually at the bar that we shot this in. We did a fundraiser there, and we raised like $1,100, almost $1,200, and we just went out and shot it. It's my first time shooting with anamorphic lenses. Um, and we did we didn't have a lot of crew. It was me doing a lot of the jobs, and then my three producers doing a lot of the jobs. And yeah, we just put that little thing together, and I'm glad that people seem to be digging it. Like, we're really excited about it.
I mean, it brings real world, you know, things into cinema, which is always fun.
Yeah, that's the goal.
That's the
Try to
goal,
make
right?
something good and relatable and fun. Yeah.
That's the goal. I mean, because it goes into those primal urges, things that we all like. Oh shit, I do this and I could get killed. Like it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what's great about horror is like
Yeah.
I hate watching horror movies. Like, well, I would never be in that scenario, so I don't have to fucking worry about that. But like, when you see a horror movie, you're like, fuck, that's me. I could definitely been in that scenario. And like, it
I
brings it
love horror
home.
movies like that too. I
Yes,
really love horror movies that are like just happens to every normal human being. Just
yes.
just somebody just walking down the street or just living or just surviving or whatever. Every situation can be a horror situation.
Really can.
Um, Yeah.
I mean, life is one big horror movie. It really is,
Yeah, for sure.
and we all
I
just
agree.
characters in it.
In fact, when I'm out walking my dog, sometimes I'm normally like I'm always thinking these things, and sometimes I'll walk him at like 3 in the morning, after being up doing something, and he'll be like begging me to go outside, so I'll take him outside, and it's like all foggy outside, and I'm like, man, this would be a great situation to get attacked by a werewolf or something. Just always thinking of that stuff.
Ryan, where can everyone find you, my friend?
So I'd say my hub is ryanshovey.com. You can find me there. You can see all my social media links. I'm mostly active on Instagram right now. And we have the trailer posted on Instagram as well. So it's at RD Shovey is where you can find me on Instagram. And then also to find out with Parasomnia, check out parasomniathefilm.com. Sign up for the email newsletter. You'll find out everything that we're doing. And you'll be able to see this awesome trailer that we put out as well.
Awesome. Is it okay if I share the trailer in my description?
Yeah, for sure. Please.
All right.
Please do.
So look at the description, click the box, and check out this amazing trailer. Ryan, it's been a pleasure again, man. Having you
I appreciate it, man. That's awesome.
Yes, man. Listen, as soon as the movie made, please send me a screener or whatever. I got
Oh yeah. I'll make sure when we screen somewhere up where you're at too.
Yes. If
Come
you're on
see
the
it
East
really
Coast,
proud.
I'll be there, man.
We'll be traveling for sure.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.